These are the 3 things that you can do to never lose to a banger again. You're here because you want to beat bangers. I'm going to show you how in 3 steps. I'll go through each step and then I'll give an example of each so that you can understand fully how to beat a banger. And for those that aren't aware, a banger is somebody that constantly drives and is hitting hard balls. Lots of times they have a tennis background. How can you defend against them? I'm going to show you how now. Jumping right into it, tip number 1 to beat a banger is something I did not realize in the beginning, and that is don't give them a ball that they can drive hard at you in the first place if you can avoid it. So if you're giving them a high floater or if your return is short into the court, you're asking them to drive the ball at you and you're asking for speed. If you don't want them to do that, don't give them an easy ball. Instead, go for a deep return. Instead, try to dial in your drops so they're not popping up super high for them to attack. So again, the best thing that you can do to beat a banger is not give them a ball that they can drive in the first place. So in this example, the return is too high, too short, just kind of a floater, and you're giving your opponent that opportunity to drive. So here's what you can do instead. Try to keep that return lower and somewhat deeper in the court so he couldn't attack it. And eventually you can win the point this way. So here's another example, but from the server's perspective. If you give the receiver a high ball, anytime you give a banger a high ball, they're just going to put it away. So as the server, do this instead. I'm dropping it to the middle. That's important to take away the angle, and it's a much lower drop. It gives me the opportunity to get to the next ball and put them in an awkward position to win the point. So a lot of you have asked what pickleball paddle I use. This is the new Pro Ultimate from Gearbox. I absolutely love it. Best paddle on the market. I've linked it down below. Use my link to purchase. Tip number 2 on how to beat a banger. Let me tell you first what you should not do. A lot of times people say, well, just reset the ball. A reset of the ball simply puts the ball back over in the net in a position where the person cannot attack it again. But if all you do is reset, your opponent is going to attack you over and over until you miss that reset. What you should do instead is counterattack. Put pressure back on the opponent. Play their own game. I know that seems a little bit counterintuitive, but lots of times we hear, soften it up, then maybe they'll stop. No, they're going to keep attacking you if you don't show that you can fight back. So the best way to fight back would be to counterattack and try to put the ball at the player's feet as much as possible. It's really hard for them to attack a ball if it's down at their feet. There are other key areas you can attack the player as well, and that would be maybe their right hip or their right shoulder. If they're right-handed, we can call it their dominant hip or their dominant shoulder. But try to counterattack and get out of the reset mode. It's good to reset in certain situations, and sometimes that's all you can do. But if that's all you do, the banger is going to continue to attack you until they win the point. So fight back. So in this example, as the near side player, I'm not posing a threat at all because all I'm doing is resetting the ball. And that makes a banger think, well, I'm just going to continue to attack them because all they're doing is resetting it and they're not a threat until I eventually miss a reset. Now in this example, I decide to counter instead of reset, and that'll make them think, well, maybe I should stop banging. tip number 3, how to beat a banger. This one's my favorite. Simply let the ball go out. Anything about chest height or higher that's coming with some speed, let that ball go. Unless you're playing a very advanced player, most of those balls will go out. And as you do it more and more, you'll kind of see which balls are going out and which are not. Keep in mind, some people are shorter than others, so it may be from, at your ribs or higher. If the ball is fast, let that ball fly. It's so much easier to win a point if you can just let it go. Then you don't even have to play that ball. So when in doubt, let it go out. So there's really no reason to overcomplicate it. If it's high, let it fly. What's Austin with Pickleball Playbook doing here? Woo! Like I said, if it's high, let it fly. Now, as an example, let's count how many out balls I hit here. That was an out ball. That's definitely an out ball. Here's another high-flying out ball. And finally, let's hit an out ball out of bounds. So here are 4 different examples of letting out balls go out. Here's our banger, definitely over my chest height. Let the ball go. It's so much easier to win a point if you can just let the ball go. It's a high ball. Here comes another one. He's winding up for the attack. Almost gets me in the head. Let it go and don't even have to play that point out anymore. Lots of these times it's just an instant win. You got to remember, bangers want to kill the ball. Again, just let that ball go out. There's so many different situations where we play a ball that's out and then we end up losing the point. Hey, while you're here, check out these cool grips I use from Pickleball Playbook. They're super tacky, super comfortable. They don't have the extra that a tennis overgrip has. Check them out in my link down below. So if you think about it, beating a banger can actually be pretty easy if you follow these 3 steps that we just talked about, okay? If the ball is high, let it fly. Try not to focus so much on resetting the ball, but instead counter back and give the opponent a taste of their own medicine. And probably the best advice of all, don't give the opponent something that they can drive, which makes them continue to be a banger, something that you don't want. If you enjoyed this content, please take 1 second to like and subscribe. We really appreciate it.